We welcome you into another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon Ironhead Show. We're back after a week off and ready to go. Lots to get into today. Just as everybody thought, Phillies and Pirates pretty much having the exact same season as everybody was predicting. The beloved Penguins have been wildly entertaining and up 3-1. In a series against a team that pretty much dominated them throughout the course of the regular season, kind of the reverse of what we saw with the Islanders and Penguins last year, when the Penguins kind of owned the Islanders during the regular season and then saw the fortunes change. But it has been remarkable watching these last couple of games, in particular in Pittsburgh, in this series. And listen, it's the NHL playoffs. Until you get that fourth win, a series isn't over. But I do think the Rangers are shaken right now. And if the Penguins can jump out early in Game 5, I do think those Rangers fans are ready to turn on their own. And I think that team's confidence right now is very shaky. That being said, as we've talked about many times, Goon, in sports, confidence if not everything, is a lot when it comes to, obviously, I mean, you got to have the skill set and everything else, but confidence, and it's funny how quickly it can come and go, right? You make a great play or two, and all of a sudden, man, I'm a world beater, or you've been a world beater all year long, and all of a sudden you have a couple of games, and I don't think it's been Zirkin's fault by any stretch, really. But he is shaken now, to say the least. And I'm not sure I would start him if I were the Rangers in Game 5 right now. Because, I mean, this is obviously now your season at stake here tomorrow night. And I don't think you go into the game riding a goalie who is a little shell-shocked right now. And again, I think that entire team is at the moment. For 5 of the last 6 periods, or at least 4 of the last 6 periods, the Penguins have dominated the play. I thought the first period was pretty even. I mean, I know the score was even, but I mean, I think the play was pretty even. I thought maybe tilted slightly toward the Penguins after the first 10 minutes in that first period. But outside of the second period, in Game 3, I mean, the Penguins have largely been controlling the action, and the forechecking has just been, to me, the difference right now in this series. The thing I do worry about, and Domingue's been terrific, and I mean, it's a great story. I do wonder long term if Jari doesn't get back. I don't know long term that the Penguins ride Domingue. I think, again, it's a great story. I'd love to see it. Not saying it's out of the question that the Penguins could win the cup with him in goal, but boy, you'd feel a lot better if you're a Penguins fan. As great as Domingue has been, and he has been terrific. He really has. But there's a reason Jari's your guy, and if he can get back in there, again, that's I think a big difference in series moving forward. That being said, I'm not counting my chickens before they're hatched, and we've seen much stranger things happen in the NHL playoffs. But boy, I do, not just because they're up 3-1. It's the way this series is kind of unfolding now that you feel really good if you're a Penguins fan, I think, right now about the prospects of at least getting to round 2.
The only thing the Rangers had going for them early in their series was they were super physical. And I'm not going to borrow your announcer's line, but he said yesterday, he was like, the Rangers have not played a physical game whatsoever. Even after that first or second game, they were very physical, and they were in those games and those type of things. And then they get into like these last 2 games, there's just no physicality whatsoever, and they're just getting completely trounced. Like, and somebody really step up and do something.
Yeah, and really, Goon, the first period of the first game, I thought the Rangers were clearly the more physical team. But really, since then, there was some physicality the rest of that Game 1 and some in Game 2. But I mean, I thought the Penguins were equaling them in terms of the physicality. But the forechecking, the forechecking that the Penguins have been bringing in the 2 games in Pittsburgh at PPG Paints Arena were just very impressive. And again, I think there's just and we've talked about this, and one of the frustrations in the last couple of playoffs is, as a Penguins fan, you have all of this firepower, and you keep thinking, well, there's no way all of that firepower can be shut down, and it has been. And again, each series is different, but man, we are seeing what we thought the Penguins were capable of for the last few years offensively. Again, not just the scoring, but it's the chances and I think they're averaging. They have to be averaging, and I get there were 3 overtimes in the first game, but I think they're averaging over 50 shots a game, right? Because 83 in game 1, but they've had, I think, over 40 or around 40 in each of the 3 since, right? So you're getting over 200 shots on a roll in 4 games of a playoff series, not just 4 games, 4 hockey games. You're talking about a playoff series.
Guys are killing. Is Gensel and Carter. I think they said Carter has his 8 goals in his however many years he's played with the Penguins is his second playoff season.
Yeah,
PPPing out there.
Yeah, and the thing is, I really do like the way the Penguins are playing right now, in that you're not relying, because the concern for me after the first game, right, was all right, the first line is terrific, showed up big, but then you get game 3, the first line, by the way, did show up big, but not on the stat sheet. And
they're going to show up. You
correct.
The second and third lines to run out there, which they have been, and
big time. Big time now. And I think again, I just go back to that confidence thing, and again, it can turn in a heartbeat. The Rangers get a couple of goals, and all of a sudden, it's the Penguins are on their heels, and the pressure tightens. I get it. This stuff can change quickly. But boy, right now, heading into Game 5, and it's funny how quickly things can change in your perspective too. Because I tell you, Goon, going into Game 4, and I talked with a few of my friends about it, I really did not know what to expect. I could see this game going truly any way. I could see the Rangers just blowing them out because the Penguins, it's kind of an emotional roller coaster, and I could see them just being emotionally exhausted and needing a game to kind of regroup. I could see the Rangers being, on their heels a little bit after giving up, the goals in the first and the third period of that game. Or I could see just, it's going to be a battle to the very end, a 1-0 game either way, a 7-6 game one way or the other. Nothing would have surprised me in terms of how things unfolded in last night's game. But now, the way they did, and now that you have the Penguins, putting those back-to-back games where they, again, with the exception of the second period there in Game 3, have just controlled and dominated the play, as well as the score sheet.
The Rangers are done. They're fried.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily the case. And goaltending, again, goaltending is such a big deal. And again, Domingue's been terrific, but can I see him getting rattled quickly if the Rangers get off to a quick start? I can. And the Penguins don't have, one of the problems right now from the Penguins' perspective, you don't really have another. I get there's another goalie that they will go to if he gives up 6 goals in the first period or something. But you don't really have another goalie that's anywhere near playoff ready, right? That you have any confidence in. Whereas the Rangers, again, a third period, I think. I'm not predicting anything. Again, I feel very good about the Penguins and where they're at right now. I'm just telling you, it's hockey, and I know things change and can change really quickly. So from a Penguins perspective, you want to see Pittsburgh come out and just really control the play early. The Rangers obviously are going to bring a ton of energy in that first period.
I think they're going to try and come out and try to not goon it up like the old school, because that's not remotely even going to work anymore.
Yeah,
they got to play a more physical game. But again, Pens jump up 2-0. in the first period, I think the Rangers are going to crawl back in their hole and they're saying we're done. I mean, I don't think that they have a real good fight left in them. But if they get 2 goals, possibly 3, chase your guy. Now you're on the third team goalie, and then you're like, okay, all right. And then now
really, you're on the fourth team goalie at that point.
It's true.
Because
it's very true.
So, I don't know. I feel real good right now about where the Penguins are. Won't be surprised if they lose the game tomorrow night, but the energy.
You're allowed to.
And listen, I'm not. Generally, I'm not a big
home game for them.
Yeah, generally, I'm not a big believer. I'm not a big believer in home ice advantage. I mean, and over the years, you can see it play out.
It's harder.
But I will say that the energy. I do think the Penguins fed off that energy, and I do think the Rangers. I think the crowd played a role. I don't know how. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and ascribe a percentage, but I do think the Rangers were rattled in part because of the crowd and the energy that you could feel off of that. And I do think if this series does go back to Pittsburgh for a Game 6, I think that's a real concern for the Rangers. And again, the Penguins right now have to be playing with a ton of confidence at home.
I'm convinced,
no matter where.
This is my feeling. Especially. I know we're not at Game 7 yet, but it's just a regular home game. But I will go back, and I will always say Game 7 is, in hockey especially, is so tough on the home team because if you don't jump, you don't get the momentum within the first 10 minutes, your fans start to get a little worried and this and that, and they start turning on them a little bit. So, I always say
you almost feed off the apprehension, right?
Absolutely.
You feel the fans getting tight,
the players start feeling tight, and the players are starting to play tight.
I agree with you.
And the other team saying, all right, we took their best shot, and they had their momentum builds from that. So, I mean, I know I'm talking about Game 7, but that does, I mean, the New York Rangers get a pretty tough damn crowd, in my opinion. They can hammer their guys a little bit. I mean, if tomorrow night they come out there and they're not playing well, they will get absolutely booed out of that stadium. Oh, sorry, the world's most famous arena. I apologize to all New Yorkers. I mean, so, what are the New York fans this week? Are they Islanders or Rangers fans this year? What do you think? What do you think? Well, we'll wait till the first round's over, see who advances, and see who they like.
Quite possibly.
That's my ultimate anger with the New York. They pick and choose all their teams all the time.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's been a fun series so far for the.
Hoops is going to fall off his chair here, Ironhead.
Yeah,
I want to talk Sixers hoops. I can't watch basketball games. I sat down Sunday night. I watched a game with OJ. OJ Duffy. I was down in Florida. He's a Heat fan, so he and I were going back and forth a little bit, and he was talking about Embiid, and I said, "There's no way in hell Embiid was not coming back because of how he talked about Ben Simmons, and have him say he's got to suck it up and man up and play in this and that." So once you get cleared out it's not like he was Willis Reed out there. He was Willis Reed out there. He didn't have that many points. He wasn't the driving force, but the fact that he was in there gave momentum to the guys. So interested to see how they're going to do.
Big difference.
Yes, it is. It'd be interesting to see how this is the first game on the road with Embiid, so we're going to see tonight how they're going to be. And they're the underdogs.
Yeah,
I know home court plays a lot in the NBA, I guess, but I don't know. I don't like regular season basketball, but I'm starting to like playoff basketball pretty good here. It's getting back to the old school where it's very physical. So.
Well, and we talked about James Harden a couple of weeks ago a little bit about kind of his role and whether or not, as I was mentioning, I think it was a day you were out, but there was somebody I was listening to on one of the national shows that he's just not as productive in the playoffs, and whoever the co-host was, it's like, hold on a second. You got to look at what he's being asked to do, and he's doing exactly what they need. Listen, when they needed him to step up, right? I mean, when they absolutely needed him to step up and become the guy, I mean, he did. So I think that in all sports, I think sometimes chemistry is underappreciated by fans. It's like, well, you have this, and this, and obviously you're going to roll, but we've seen a lot of teams with a lot of talent not be able to put it together And I think again, it's been chemistry. I mean, you look at the Lakers and the NBA. I mean, that chemistry that chemistry is critical. And I do think the Sixers right now, and I'm not, we'll see how everything plays out. But I do think there's that chemistry that they have right now that at least gives you the opportunity to go out and contend and compete. And I think, and it's one of the things I'm loving about the Penguins. I think when you one of the things I've done since Kale's kind of come here and kickstarted the Penn State wrestling program to a whole nother level. One of the things I really do with all sports now is just kind of watch the bench and watch how engaged and how pumped the guys on the bench are, or gals, depending on what sport you're watching, but are for what's happening when it's their teammates out there. And again, I'm not going to tell you that that's the end-all, be-all to anything, but it is a big part because when you watch a sideline in football, if you are seeing everybody engaged and you're seeing everybody with the fist pumping if there's an interception or a touchdown, then what it is telling you as a coaching staff, right, is that you have complete buy-in. If that fifth-string quarterback and the backup quarterback who is in a competition with that guy and the fourth-string receiver who's wants to be out there if all of those guys are all pumped up because the team is doing well and other individuals on the team are doing well and it's not all about them, again, I do think that tells you a lot.
Get out of my head.
I do think it tells you a lot about the opportunity, the chance. Again, it doesn't guarantee anything, but I think it gives you a chance to go out there and compete at the highest level.
I watch, and this is funny that you would say something like that, because when I watch a football game, I watch the offensive line when the quarterback gets sacked. See who runs back and picks him off the ground. If they don't like him. And that's one of those things. And you watch the guy who got the sack, who's celebrating with him. If there's like the other defensive end slapping the other guys are getting in the huddle, no one's cheering. They don't give a crap about it. They don't love each other.
Right.
They're not playing together as a group. You get a guy who gets a sack. There's 10 more guys jumping on him, high-fiving him. And that's how I feel watching the game. And that's you can tell when the quarterback goes down how fast the offensive line picks him up. One, I'm sorry, it was my fault. Or two, they like the guy, and then they want to say, "You're our guy," this and that. You see a guy laying on the ground and got smacked around by a defensive end, and no one's really helping him up. I'm convinced that he's not a team guy, or the guys don't like him. But you're right. You watch the Penguins score. I mean, that whole bench is going absolutely nuts, and it's great. That's hockey. We all are all in the same boat here. We all love hockey. We've never even played hockey, for God's sake, but we all love watching it.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that I can watch the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Rangers makes me sick to my stomach, but I have to watch it because it's playoff hockey, and it is the best hockey in the world. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. The drama in playoff hockey is to me just unlike anything else.
Free hockey, overtime in playoff hockey.
Well, I will tell you,
better.
My great concern after game one of this series was that this was going to be a series where we had, and listen, we still could have, but we were going to have like multiple overtime games, and it was going to be, and I'm just telling you from a fan's perspective, those overtime games are just agonizing. I mean, it's wonderful when you win. And it is absolutely devastating when you lose. But they are the in-between from whenever regulation ends till that goal finally ends the game is just, for me at least, I think it is the most anxiety-filled moments in sports. Like I can't think. I mean, I guess wrestling. When for me, when you get to like an overtime match, like the 3 overtime bouts last year at the NCAA championships that Penn State had. That's anxiety filled for sure. But it's just in hockey. There's just that. It's going to be over in a split moment. You just don't know if that split moment is going to come in the next minute or 5 hours from now. And that part. I don't know, for some reason just adds to the anxiety. And it just, I don't know. There's, I love it, but I also, when it's my team involved, again, there is a part of. I mean, it is just ridiculously.
You've been to an arena when your home team loses? It's unbelievable.
In overtime?
Oh, yeah. It's unbelievable.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
crap. And then you
And then you get people packing up. You hear the seats folding up and this and that.
Oh.
So can we go get on Goon story time? Dun, 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 dun.
Absolutely.
Coaching down in
Give us a
Richmond.
story.
Coaching down in Southwest Virginia. South Central Virginia, I guess you'd call it. Hammond Sydney College. Got a bunch of Southern kids on the team predominantly. Probably 95% of the guys were from down south. They were all Philadelphia Flyer fans. Because if the Flyers won a playoff game, they didn't have to do extra the conditioning the next day when we were lifting. So I'd be getting phone calls throughout the night. I can't believe he missed that shot. And the next day they'll be sitting there like, man, you see that guy take that shot right now? Man, it was the best because they knew.
That's hilarious.
They knew. And then that was the year with the 6 or 7 overtime Flyers Penguins game.
Oh my God.
And I converted 105 Southern men into hockey fans in just one short Stanley Cup playoff. So those guys are coming in like, oh my God, you see that shot last night? I couldn't believe he made that
got
save.
no sleep.
Exactly. I'm glad I don't have to run today because I got no sleep. So that first game, did you watch it all?
So here's the
You're the guy. You're my test.
Here's the honest to God truth. I fell asleep toward the end with maybe a couple minutes left in the first overtime. And I woke up. I don't know how or why I woke up. I woke up about 2 minutes before the game winner.
Wow.
So the timing was pretty good there. And then, of course, the issue is that I have a tough time getting back to sleep anytime. I mean, I have a tough time going to sleep after any sporting event that I'm into. So then I was up for like another hour and a half, just trying to get myself
getting all
back down. But yeah. So it worked out well for me, but yeah, I didn't see any of the second overtime, but I did see the majority of the game and the most important parts.
But I mean, all the other games I've been watching, they've been just fantastic. It's just
there have been a lot of I probably say that every playoff season, but it has really been a very entertaining start to the playoff season.
Most, if not all, are very, very, very close. I think Colorado's running away with their series. But all the other ones are all close. So, again, as usual, fantastic to watch, fun to watch, love it. I mean, I could watch. I'll go home tonight and watch the Tampa Bay and Toronto. And my wife would be like, "Why are we watching this?" There's a hockey game on it. It's Stanley Cup playoff.
And it's an intriguing series.
I'll have the Sixers on too, Butch. I'll have them on. Relax, everybody. I won't fall asleep like the car dealer in Philadelphia.
So what do you think?
Did you see that guy?
No.
Oh man, they had the guy in a big car dealer. He does a bunch of commercials down there, and he's always like, so he's in the game, and they show him he's dead asleep. And Charles Barkley's like, he ain't tired, he drunk, you know what I mean? And these guys just been getting murdered, and he was sitting there saying, oh no, I didn't. I was not drinking this and that. And there's like 15 people like sending videos of their cell phones into this guy boozing the whole game. He damn passed out during the game. Anyway, it is what it is. We all do it. But it looks like me Saturday night after the golfing event down in Florida. So all good. But it was just funny because this guy's catching it beaten. And you know what? He's not running from it. He's a car dealer. He's using it.
By the way,
I saw so many cars I got to sleep halfway through during it. So
the big disappointment with us not having the show last week is I was obviously all over. I was telling everybody ahead of time, Rich Strike is going to win this thing, and everybody's like, "You're crazy."
Yep.
And by everybody, I mean I might have forgotten to mention it to anybody, but I knew it was going to happen. You just sense those things sometimes, Goon.
So he was the fourth alternate, by the way. So, he wasn't the first alternate.
So my favorite thing about that, the way that whole thing unfolded, it was a great call. It really was. And but my favorite part of it is Rich Strike isn't even mentioned anywhere until the last 3 seconds of the race. It's like, and again, the announcer all over it. I mean, perfectly called, but you're like, all right, it's a two-horse battle, and no, it's Rich Strike out of nowhere. They didn't say out of nowhere, but Rich Strike, one of the biggest upsets in the Kentucky Derby history. But I mean, he's on it as it happens, but it is so unexpected.
Did you see the video of
yeah,
it's all over social media how the actual ride for the guy?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Well, and you can see, I mean, the owner and the jockey, I mean, everybody is just flabbergasted and can't believe that what's happened has happened. And listen, it's why we love sports, right? Like those stories are, and the fact that guy had the barn that burned out and all. I mean, it is just such a wonderful, redemption story and an unexpected underdog story, and it's just. It is why one of the reasons why we watch sports and love sports, right? Because as much as sometimes we think we know what's going to happen is going to happen, and a lot of times you're right, sometimes you don't know, and you get those moments that are just are going to be legendary, and that ride, that race, that horse. That jockey, that owner. I mean, that now is the stuff that 100 years from now people will be talking about. You never know. You could be Rich Strike, right? Like, I mean, that is.
Well, they're rich now.
Just a wonderful. Yeah, it's a wonderful story.
Is going to have
and that horse was going to race in some other races this coming week. Like, I mean, this. When we talk about this, was completely off the radar and unexpected. I mean, this is as unexpected as Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson. I mean, it is that type of. Wait, what?
All right, so I was told he was the 24th, so he was the fourth alternate, and the only reason he got there was because he was already there, and most people had already didn't make the show; they had already taken it out, but he was going to run races, so that's why he was there. So he was the fourth alternate. And the other three weren't even. They had already carried them home, taken them home, got them out of the paddocks in Churchill Downs, and got them back to wherever they were going. So he got the race, and that's just unfreaking. I mean, you're right. Crazy. I mean, that Buster Douglas thing, the USA hockey over the Russians, Villanova beating Georgetown. I mean, they're widely considered the greatest upsets of all time. Did you watch the Buster Douglas Mike Tyson fight?
That's a good. I'm honestly not 100% sure. I feel like I must have because I was. I honestly don't remember for sure. I might not have seen it in live as it happened because I'm trying. There were a number. There was a stretch there where there was a group of us that were like we would go in on the pay-per-view and whatever.
But
we didn't have HBO, so that's what I'm not remembering right now. But we would go in on the fights, and we'd get together, and it's like, and the big question was always, well, do you think it's gonna be first, second, or third tonight? I mean, that was. And then I honestly I don't remember for sure, to be honest with you right now. I feel like I probably did, but I also feel like I would remember watching it. I
watched with my father and my little brother.
I'm not sure that I did, to be honest with you.
We were sitting there, and my father would just sit there, and he would just constantly say that he didn't like how he was acting. He didn't like it, and we were all like, "Come on!" I was a huge Tyson fan, but my dad kept on saying when the guy with the tall hair started showing up around Mike Tyson, he goes, "He's in trouble."
Yeah.
And each fight went on. There was more and more people going down coming down into the ring with him. His entourage was getting bigger and bigger.
You do wonder what would have happened, like how different. And it's pointless but if Custom Auto was alive and stayed, involved, how? And again, speculation doesn't do any good. But how different would that trajectory have been? Yeah,
but he was after Cuss. And he tried to keep Mike in line, but he wasn't Cuss.
But he didn't have the same, command from Mike.
Exactly. He didn't have the respect of Mike to do that. And, I remember watching it, and it was just like, man. And then if you look back on it, Tyson won that match. He won that bout. I mean, when he hit Douglas in like the 9th round, that was like a 13-second count for him to get up. I mean, if you look back on it, and then it happens in every fight. There's a little bit of lull in this and that, so you can probably go back to a lot of fights and say, "Whoa, no, he was fine." But the fact that he knocked him out, and that was the problem. Tyson just waited for that one knockout punch all the time. Later in his career,
Yep.
And when he wasn't boxing, and he didn't give a crap about Douglas. And I love the Buster Douglas story, what he did. And then he went and lost to who? Remember all this?
There's a time I did.
You're right. There was a time when I would remember everything. So I had a conversation with him. I was away at a celebrity charity event all weekend, so there's a bunch of ex-players, a lot of different sports and stuff. So we were just throwing out some of these names, and I remember being a young guy. I could name like the Heisman Trophy winners from like 80 to 2005. Like bang, bang. You give me the year, I knew it now. I couldn't tell you. Now I'm thinking about who won it in '82. And it was one of those things that somebody was like, it wasn't Elway. And I was like, it had to be Elway. But it wasn't. I forgot who it was already. It's Herschel won it in '81. So whatever. I'm just saying there was a time when we knew used to know everything. So, but who beat Douglas for the title is what I'm trying to think in my head. Was it when
Marcus Allen was 82, right?
Did he win in '82? Okay, because he's
I
a rookie in
think,
'83. So there you go.
Because Penn State played him, right? In the am I thinking of that right? I think in the
'82
and then,
team would have been the Georgia game. In '83, they ended up playing in
'81. They played Marcus Allen.
Okay, so that's what I think.
But he wasn't the Heisman Trophy that winner, right?
No, not such a one.
Yep.
Yeah.
But '82, he won it, but we didn't play Penn State because Penn State won a national title. In '83, Penn State played in what bowl? They played in the Aloha Bowl.
Yeah, I guess.
And then in '84, they didn't go to a bowl. Yeah, I remember all that. So yeah, but Mike Tyson, I absolutely love that dude. I mean, I'm just watching, and I watching that film of him last week, and I was like, that guy deserved to get his ass kicked on that plane, messing with Mike Tyson like that. Like, just what are you doing? What are you doing? So
yeah.
All right. I have an honest question with you.
All right.
This is a conversation I had with a lot of guys over the weekend.
I have a dishonest answer.
Why? It's almost like Penn State football, I'm saying right now, by putting these billboards all around the state, down in Jersey and down in Baltimore, Maryland, that they had 8 guys get drafted. And all you're doing is bringing more attention to the fact that you were 12-12 the last 2 years, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes and no. I mean, I'm with you, and that's the way I would see it. And to me, it does lead questions to what we were just talking about with the chemistry. And I'm not do not read anything more into that. I'm not saying that locker room is lost or anything like that. But, yeah, if you have that type of talent, and Penn State does, and by all accounts, right, the last 2 classes have
produced a lot of draft picks.
By the draft experts have been even better than in terms of at least high school accomplishments and high school credentials coming in, even better than these kids in the last couple of NFL classes. So yes, as a fan, I'm sitting there. It's like, well, that's a whole lot of talent for a 500 football program, and
by doing what they're doing, I think they're bringing attention to that.
Yes. Now, that being said, it's hard. I don't know if you did you see Bash Mania did a podcast interview with Bo Nickel and Roman Bravo Young. And it's a real, if you're a wrestling fan or even really just a sports fan, it's I would encourage you to check it out. Just there's just some interesting topics that they get into in discussions. But one of the things they asked Bo about was, with the name, image, and likeness money, how that's changing things. And, Nickel, I'm paraphrasing here, but said, listen, I think it's a wonderful opportunity. He said, I do think, if you are a kid that has these opportunities, you need to look at the big picture stuff and not just go chasing the immediate money look at the, again, what's important to you, what's important to your future. So, because if you're all about just chasing the money, that means you can be bought, and you're willing to sell yourself. And if you're willing to do that, at that stage of your life, you're probably willing to do that at any stage of your life. And that may end up, not leading to the best life that you could have. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but that was the gist of it.
Absolutely.
But I think when you so I'm trying to think of it, like, if I'm a high school kid and my aspiration is to get to the NFL, presumably part of that aspiration is to be part of a special college team in between, right? So I don't know how this would play with a high school kid and his families. On one hand, yes, I'm a Pennsylvania kid and I'm living in Pittsburgh, and I see a billboard that says, man, Penn State, 8 NFL draft picks, and that's where I want to go.
Different for the kids than it is the adults.
But I'm not 100% sure about that, though, Goon, because, again, are today's high school kids just in it to get to the NFL, or right? Like, I mean, I think it's more than that for them and their families. For most of them, right? Like, you still want to have a good college experience. You want to have an opportunity, I think, at every level to try to compete for championships if you can. So I'm wondering, and I don't know, but I'm wondering if I'm a high school kid, am I going to look at that and say, yeah, they did, but yeah, they're not.
I think a kid's
they're not anywhere near. Well, I don't know. I don't know if they are or not seeing it differently, because again, I want to get to the NFL, but I don't want to get to the NFL with a team that isn't going to major bowl games. And I understand James Franklin's going to major bowl games, but I'm saying, if Team X, take Penn State out of the equation, is touting that they had 8 draft picks, and that team, let's say it was 5-7 the last 2 years, not even going to a bowl game, but man, they're producing well. That's great, but Pitt's winning ACC titles and sending guys to. I mean, I think you've talked about this before. The NFL is going to find you. If you are an NFL talent, you are at least going to get a look, and especially these days with all of the coverage that's out there, and now with the USFL and all of the other. Again, if you have NFL talent or something close to it, you are going to get a look. It doesn't matter if you go to IUP, Penn State, Michigan, Alabama, Wright State, whatever, a Division III program that I can't think of in the Midwest, they will find you if you are that type of talent. But I think part of it, right, if you're going from high school and ultimately hoping to get to the NFL, part of it is you want to have, again, a good, and there's a bunch of different things you may be looking for to get that good college experience. But I think, ideally, right, you want to be part of a program that's doing good things and having a lot of fun winning games.
I think it's to the point right now, Ironhead, where high school kids, doesn't matter where you go, you're going to get seen. I mean, with the way social media is, how recruiting is done right now, with all the different services and stuff like that, like, if you're good enough in high school, they're going to find you. So the days of the old, they'll never see you. Case in point, my younger brother's 6A high school coach from outside of Philadelphia area. He's got guys leaving to go to Catholic schools because they feel as if they're going to get more exposure at the Catholic schools than they would in a the Suburban One conference outside of Philadelphia. And you're like, come on, what are you thinking now? You know what I mean? And then the other crazy thing is that a lot of it's parents. They're the ones who are seeing the dollar bill signs and to see the NFL signs and see the NIL money, and you see the better high school. They have a more winning record than the school you're at right now, and sometimes that's the problem. And a lot of that's going on anymore in all sports,
and at younger and younger levels.
Yeah,
truth be
told.
Right.
I had conversations this past week with a lot of guys. We were saying that, like, college football is going down that AAU route right now. You know what I mean? And that's scary to think about, the way basketball was 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But it got sort of, rolled over with the whole AAU team, super teams, and yada, yada, yada. That's sort of the way football's turning into, going to the highest bidder type of stuff. It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, I don't think it is either, and I do kind of wonder how this thing continues to evolve or devolve, depending on your
It was good.
perspective.
I had a lot of
but
different perspectives from different guys when I was away this weekend, and the best thing I heard was the transfer portal, which everybody's offended by and stuff like that. Is okay. You get 1 in 4 years where you can transfer wherever you want. You're allowed to make one mistake. Your coach leaves. You know what I mean? So that was one of the big things was kids were going to certain schools and the coach was leaving. And that's where they were stuck there for at least a year.
Yeah, but you're always going to be able to drop this. So, in theory, that sounds great. But what if the first school you go to it wasn't a good fit? You thought it was a great fit, everybody, and then you go to the other school another school because man, that coaching staff you did it off, and that coaching staff now leaves. There's so many extenuating circumstances, and I don't. Again, I'm just speaking for me. I understand the intent. I don't like trying to pigeonhole kids in situations that are not good because they you already did your you made your one mistake. Well, okay, but I truly now made a second mistake, and I want to have an opportunity to better my situation.
That scenario came up, and somebody said, "Well, remember how you used to have to apply for a 6-year medical red shirt?
Yeah.
You could do that type of situation where you go to a certain case and not just do what the NCAA it just says with the broad swath of everybody's the same.
What I think is going to happen, maybe it already is, but I just think the letters of intent are going to become more and I get they're contractual already, always have been, but I think they're going to become much more so moving forward in that. And again, as always, it seems like the big winners out of all of this, once again, the legal profession. Your lawyers are going to have a field day drawing up the contracts for the universities, looking over the contracts for the student athletes. The lawyers, again, are going to make out big time because all of this stuff is going to have to be gone over with a fine-tooth comb. But I do think you're going to have more and more listen, you come here, we will pay your tuition for 4 years if you stay for 4 years. But if you leave after 1 year, and I'm making stuff up here, but then you'll have to pay back 50% of that 1 year. And what's going to end up happening, I think, as you get down the road, and it's going to be similar to what you see with the professional contracts, right? It's like, well, yeah, we really want that quarterback, but do we want to pay his freshman year tuition when he wasn't here to get him out of that deal because he's that good. And I think that stuff is going to be started to, and maybe it already is. It wouldn't surprise me, but you're going to have, and it's not going to be just with the school. It's going to be, again, the boatloads of money that we're talking about that are out there with the NIL stuff. It's going to be written in, if not with the national letter of intent, then with a separate contract with whatever the NIL deals are. Again, it's going to be the same type of thing where it's like, yep, all of this money is here for you if you stay for all 5 years and graduate. But if you leave after year 1, X amount will be owed back. If you leave after year 2, and it's going to get, I suspect, very involved.
I got a scenario for you that's going to blow your mind.
Yep, go ahead.
All right. I don't know if it's happened yet. I was told it is happening right now. And that is there is a top, 5-star blue chip recruit out there right now.
Yeah.
Booch, I'm looking at you. I want to see your reaction because I can hear Ironheads. And he has told universities, I got 5 official visits. It's going to cost each of you $100,000 as a beginning offer for me to come visit your school.
To visit.
Yeah. Now, who in the hell is paying that money? Because schools will. The school won't. The athletic department cannot per se. So you're the head coach. You got to go to an alumni and say, hey, we got a shot at this kid. I need $100,000 for him to come visit. I mean, it's just mind blowing to think about this. I mean, again, I go back. I'm not the pissed off older ex-football player who got exploited and didn't make any money.
Well,
I'm okay with that. I want these players to get everything they possibly can, but the way it's being done right now is just completely.
Yeah, and I just don't think that
tracks.
type of stuff will happen very long because of what we've talked about before. I might do that. At the moment, it's like, well, yeah, we think we're going to get this guy. Well, when I give that, even if it was $1,000, even if it's $100, right? If I do that a couple of times and both times the kid goes somewhere else, right? It's like, well, wait a second.
Coach, we
need a better assurance plan here. Like,
it's crazy.
People that are well off for a reason, and one of the reasons is they don't just throw away any money.
Yes,
right. Like they don't, and that is throwing money away.
True.
And again, you might do that a couple of times at the start because you want to be trendy or whatever. But I don't think it's going to take very long for people to say, no.
I could not believe what I heard. But then I was like, well, why wouldn't they do that? Why wouldn't they? I mean, there's a high school kid now. We got an $8 million NIL deal.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness gracious. So Booch called it a year ago when it came out. He goes, I'm waiting. You know how like some of these NFL guys are retiring early because they're worried about their health and their head issues and stuff like that. So. And they played maybe a year, maybe two. They got a couple $100,000, maybe a $3 million signing. They're set to start off their life. So are we going to come to the point where, okay, I made enough in college. I don't think I need to go to the NFL. I have my health right now.
Sure.
I have $6 million in the bank right now.
A college degree.
All
kinds of connections because of that college degree.
I personally believe I could start my life right now as a,
yep.
Doing this company, which would be my life ambition. The life ambition was to play in the NFL, but now you have enough money and you may take your health into account and say, okay, I don't need to play in the NFL. I mean, Booch said it a year ago, and I was like, you're freaking crazy. Are you serious? And then I started thinking about it more and more and more, and I'm like, oh, Christ, he's right. And that scares the living hell out of me. It's just, what a world, dude. What a world.
That many of those.
No, there won't be many of them, but there will be one. Like I said the first day of the NIL, when I said the first kind of missed practice because he's got an autograph signing is when this is going to really hit the coaches.
Yep.
No, but your scenario, you told me, you've talked about before, I used that one. Again, I used a lot of your guys' material when I was in my arguments. And then the other argument was, a guy's out Thursday night doing an autograph session and making a couple $1,000 and this and that and throws 3 picks on Saturday. He can't be – he has to sit there and take it on social media because he's going to hear it. Yeah. And he can't come back and fight it. I mean, it's just like you're just lining yourself up because, honest to God, you're no longer. This is what the guy was saying. You're not a college kid anymore. You're a professional athlete. You're getting paid to do a job right now. You are a professional athlete. Blows my mind, but it's true.
Well, and listen, with one of the things that one of the many things that I'm also concerned about, and I had a discussion with somebody kind of off the record about this, but who's a little more involved. But with the amount of betting that is going on now in sports and the way it has opened up, and again, I'm okay with that, but the possibility here, again, if you're in it for yourself and I come to you and I say, man, I can't believe that your quarterback is getting $1 million a year and you, the running back, who's a rock solid guy and you keep blocking for him and you're getting the tough yards when need be, but you're getting like $50,000 a year. Tell you what we do. You keep this game to within, whatever. And you fumble if you need to, if you don't think at some point, right? I mean, we've had point shaving scandals in college athletics prior to all of this stuff. With betting being as prevalent as it is, and with the number of kids that can affect games in different ways, and the money that is being bandied about out there, to me, it seems inevitable that you are going to have some. And I'm not talking. I don't think this is going to be widespread and all of college sports is corrupt. But the idea that you're not that nowhere ever are you going to in the future have anybody any game get points shaven and money exchanged with college athletics. God bless you and your naivete. I would love to live in that world, but
they have the money now to actually put the money up again.
Well, and again, you're going to be able to and you're going to be able to use it to leverage a teammate against his team, right, or a small group of teammates again. And I just, even though there is in theory less governance of college athletics, right? Because there's more things that had been prohibited are now being allowed. I think the things that are still that everybody, at least for the moment, still agrees can't happen. The amount of officials that you're going to need overlooking that stuff, and I don't know where are you going to get those officials and how are you going to pay them? Again, I don't think it's going to be the conferences, right, that are going to do it. But if I suspect, and I think, that is the direction we're clearly heading, is that the conferences are going to take control of their own regulatory rules and, procedures. But even within that, right, like you still are going to have people overseeing. And a lot of them, I think, to be able to keep on top of this. And if you don't, again, I do think you're going to have a multitude of real problems and real issues. And I'm talking about issues regarding the integrity of the game. The other stuff is concerning, and I think there's a lot to talk about there. But when you start potentially affecting the integrity of the game, and that it is what you think you are watching is not what you are watching, then there are real problems that
these are real world problems.
Yeah, then I'm not sure how you go back trying to properly redress that. And again, I get that there have been some point shaving scandals in the past, but they've been at least that we know about, pretty few and far between.
Man, I got another scenario for you. What you hear about NBA and professional players, NFL, NHL, all four major big sports getting exploited or blackmailed by a female. I mean, now you hear about you're hearing about our athletes around here or in this country that are making this kind of money. I mean, what's going to stop a girl from doing something like that? Or a guy say, "Hey, man, I know what you did. I saw you do that. Yeah. Give me $10,000." I mean, it's just scary that these guys are going to have money like this and what could happen with it. And I believe Cale Sanderson is the one who says we need to stop worrying about it, and we need to start worrying about more of how we're going to protect our players and take care of our players in their 4 or 5 years here.
Yep, and try to give them right. Part of it is trying to give them the foundation that they can at least look with open eyes at what is happening.
What if you were given $10,000 when you were 19 years old, Jeff? What the hell would you do with it? I'll tell you what, that would be.
It would not have been a pretty picture. I can promise you that.
I'd have Velveeta in my backyard and 3 halves of Bud Light, and I'd probably charge people, and then about halfway through, I'm drunk saying, come on in, don't worry about it. Anyway, I'd probably give all the money I made to the band anyway. So that's just that's what the little infrastructure needs to be built up around all of these universities. Like you just said, what's the manpower that goes into that? And it's not.
And where's the money for that?
And where's that money coming from?
Yes, a component going to come from, because the money that you would use right now for it, right? That is not going there. That now is going to get the top athletes, to get the best buildings, to get the top facilities, to get the best coaches.
So we were sitting there all this past weekend talking about a lot of this stuff, and we were all ex-athletes. And then I said we were talking about all of this stuff, and then I dropped the bomb. Oh, I said you're going to do that, but then now you're going to have Title IX jumping in now. And now you're going to have that facility set up for the football and basketball and hockey program. You sure as hell better have it for all the other women's sports here, as well as all the Olympic sports. And then it was like, oh, God. And then, there goes into that. Now who's funding all those equipment, that office or that association or that person or that person's office at Penn State, I mean, it's mind-boggling when it all comes down to it. And it goes back to the NCAA just saying, whatever, just go ahead and do it. And
not having any
No
kind
plan
of a
whatsoever.
plan ahead of time when everybody saw what was coming. And again, I go back when was it Ed O'Bannon and the group with EA Sports. I mean, at that point, you could see
he got me paid.
You could see, okay, moving forward, there has to be some sort of structure in place.
You know that, right?
And they never did that. Yes.
The O'Bannon lawsuit we got with the '94 team because we were on that. I got a couple $100 out of it, but I was like, "Oh, this is great." And I look back at it, I'm like, I should have held out for a little bit more.
Like Trump's lawsuit against the USFL.
Exactly. He got $1. Oh wow, he framed it. I hope. And that he turned that dollar into $100 million and became president of the United States. If you did
Well, hopefully, when we rejoin you here on Thursday, we'll be talking about the Penguins matchup in the second round of the NHL playoffs. What's that? Pirates and the Phillies.
the Sixers
Seasons are
and the
going to
Sixers.
continue.
Hey, Phillies are
What's
out.
your, what do you think with the Sixers tonight, real quick?
It'll be
what's
tough to play
your
down there, but I
gut telling?
think they're going to rally behind Embiid. I think he's back into it a little bit, in my opinion. So I'll take the Sixers tonight, plus the 3.5, plus the 3.5.
Give them the points.
Yes, sir.
For the love of God,
I'll pay the extra. I'll pay the juice. Come on.
We will be back on Thursday. Until then, be good and be safe.
Best 2 out of 3?
It's one fantastic ride. The turbocharged, tech-inspired new Kia Forte.
There's always something happening at Quaker Steak Lube. From live music to exciting new flavors, meet your friends and refuel at your local Quaker Steak Lube today. Can't slow down? Then order online. Pick up and get back on the road. Find us at thelube.com.
You know, we humans have come a long way on our journey. Our first language wasn't exactly, a language. Medium well, thank you. Our first vehicles weren't the fastest.
Can you,
Faster. Hey, boys, punch it! Our first maps weren't that accurate. And you know, fellas, the world is actually, give a ball. Our first phones weren't smart. Text mom winky face emoji. Our first screens you couldn't touch.
Mom, Dad's feeling the TV.
No one likes a snitch, son. And the first electric vehicles weren't, let's just say, they look nothing like the first ever Ioniq 5. I mean, two-way charging, AR heads-up display, 300-mile range. What can't this thing do? Look, the point is, it's been a long, yeah, good point, really long journey. But worth it.
Your journey at its most evolved, the